Why do some people quietly transform their lives while others remain stuck in the same loop, making promises they never keep? It's not because one group has more talent, better luck, or more time. It's because they've learned one brutal truth. Nothing changes until you do the same thing over and over, long after it stops being exciting. Let's be honest. Consistency is not glamorous. It doesn't come with applause. No one's cheering you on when you get up early to do what needs to be done. There's no instant reward for showing up on the hard days. And that's exactly why most people don't make it. They wait for motivation, for clarity, for a right moment that never arrives. But the Stoics would tell you, the right moment is always now. The discipline to act, despite discomfort, is the only freedom you ever truly control. When you force yourself to be consistent, especially when your emotions scream for escape, you stop being a slave to circumstance. You stop being shaped by how you feel. You become the sculptor, not the clay. And over time, the person who was once broken by delay becomes someone others look at and say, "How did they do it?" If you're ready to step into that version of yourself, the one who doesn't flinch when things get hard, the one who keeps moving quietly and powerfully, no matter how uncertain the path, then you're exactly where you need to be. Also, consider subscribing, because you're choosing to surround yourself with ideas that strengthen your mind, sharpen your character, and guide you towards something deeper than comfort, purpose. They told you to wait. Wait for the right time. Wait for the mood to be right, the stars to align, your energy to return, your purpose to reveal itself. Find your why, they said. Wait until you feel inspired. And so you waited. Days became weeks. Weeks turned into vague months. But the truth is, inspiration is the most deceptive comfort we've ever been sold. It's a feeling, not a foundation. And feelings, while powerful, are volatile. One moment they lift you, the next they vanish. Try building anything on that, a career, a routine, a life, and you'll end up stuck in a loop, always starting, never arriving. People love motivation because it gives them a reason to delay. It sounds noble, it sounds emotional, but it's just dressed up procrastination. Deep down, you already know this. You've felt it. That rush of energy that comes with a new goal, and then the crash, when reality shows up without permission, when no one's clapping, when the mirror is quiet. That's the part they don't talk about, the part that doesn't trend well. But that's where change begins. There's a kind of person out there who doesn't wait. They don't wake up needing to be inspired. They don't need the weather to be perfect, the playlist to be just right, or the coffee to kick in before they begin. They just start. Not because they're special, but because they've learned something most people never realize. Action comes before feeling. That uncomfortable truth separates the ones who get things done from the ones who talk about it. If you wait until you feel ready, you'll spend your life in preparation. You'll become a master of vision boards, goal lists, and potential, but you'll never see transformation, because nothing changes until you move, and keep moving. It's easy to fall for the lie because it's comforting. It's easier to believe that the reason you haven't succeeded is because you haven't found the right emotion, the right drive. But ask yourself, what has waiting ever given you? Has a perfect wave of motivation ever lasted long enough to build something real? We romanticize the moment when something clicks, but we forget that most of the time there is no click. Just you, tired, uncertain, but moving anyway. And that's the difference. That's the kind of consistency that builds a mind you can trust, a life you can be proud of. That's the slow, quiet power of repetition, showing up again and again, even when nothing seems to be changing. Stoicism teaches us that control is not found in the external world, but in our choices, our responses, our discipline. You don't control when you feel inspired, but you can control when you act. And if you make action the anchor, not emotion, then you've already stepped ahead of 90% of people. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I am rising to do the work of a human being, not a machine, not a motivational speaker, a human being. And that's all you need to be, one who acts, not one who waits." So here's the hard truth. You can either spend your life chasing moments that may never come, or you can become the kind of person who builds something lasting through deliberate effort. Every time you push through resistance, you're training your mind to obey you, not your mood. You're proving to yourself that you are not made of softness and hesitation, but of steady movement, deliberate choices, and inner control. There is no perfect moment. There is only the moment you decide to start and refuse to stop. Everyone else is chasing sparks, chasing highs, waiting for the magical feeling that tells them it's time. But feelings are like clouds, beautiful, dramatic, and always changing. You cannot build a life on clouds, but you can build one on rhythm, on showing up at the same time, in the same place, regardless of whether the sky is clear or full of storm. And once you stop relying on motivation, something remarkable happens. You stop fearing the low days. You stop waiting for energy. Because now you have a system, a standard, and you become the kind of person who moves with purpose, not only when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. It's in those quiet, uninspired moments that your identity is formed. Not when you feel like doing the right thing, but when you do it anyway. That's when you're carving something strong, stable, and real out of the chaos of your mind. It's not glamorous. There's no applause. No one sees it. But it becomes who you are. Not someone who starts 100 things and finishes none, but someone who does what needs to be done without needing to feel a certain way about it first. That kind of person doesn't need motivation. They become the motivation for themselves, for others, and most importantly, for the life they are quietly building day by day. So no, motivation isn't the answer, and it never was. You don't need to wait for a spark. You don't need to hunt for your why. What you need is right in front of you, the next step, the next action, the next repetition. One small choice stacked on top of the last, over and over again, until the old version of you is just a memory. That's how it's done. That's how people who look ordinary become extraordinary, not overnight, but over time, relentlessly, patiently, without fanfare. And you're capable of that kind of discipline. You're capable of choosing structure over chaos, showing up over shutting down, not because someone told you to, not because you felt some grand emotion, but because you decided to live like someone who's serious about changing. That's what consistency really is. Not a performance, not a product of feeling good, but a quiet rebellion against everything inside you that wants to stay comfortable. And once you step into that mindset, everything begins to shift. Not all at once, but inevitably. Everyone wants progress. We talk about it, we crave it, we dream of it. But most people have no idea what it really looks like. They picture breakthroughs, visible, loud, immediate. They expect transformation to feel like fireworks, like some kind of cinematic event. But the truth is, real progress is quiet. It's slow, it's often boring, and more than anything, it's invisible when you're in it. No one claps when you wake up early and sit in silence to write. No one notices when you keep a promise to yourself that no one else even knew existed. But those are the moments where it's happening. That's where the foundation is being laid. It's not in the highlight reels, it's in the moments that feel like nothing. That's the real currency of growth. Doing the work when there's no audience, no reward, and no surge of motivation to carry you. Most people never get far because they mistake the absence of applause for the absence of progress. They assume that if results aren't visible, then something must be broken. But growth doesn't announce itself. It doesn't arrive with fanfare. It builds quietly, in layers, beneath the surface of your habits. You might be doing the same thing every day, the same routine, the same steps, the same uncomfortable repetition, and still feel like you're standing still. But something is happening beneath that surface. Every time you resist the urge to quit, every time you choose the long road over the shortcut, you're compounding. You're collecting invisible victories that will one day cash out in ways you never imagined. The problem is, we've been conditioned to expect immediacy. Our minds have been trained to seek feedback loops, results, recognition, signs that we're on the right path. So when we don't see them, we doubt, we hesitate, we slow down. But Stoic wisdom reminds us, your job is not to control the outcome. Your job is to stay present with the process. Marcus Aurelius said, "Don't expect the world to be consistent if you're not consistent with yourself." Consistency isn't about speed, it's about direction. And if you keep moving forward, even slowly, even imperfectly, you are winning in ways the world can't measure yet. The most dangerous lie you can believe is that small things don't matter, that skipping one day won't hurt, that cutting one corner won't set you back. But it does, because you're not just building results, you're building identity. And identity is shaped by what you tolerate from yourself. If you let yourself off the hook every time you're tired or bored or unmotivated, you teach yourself that your word isn't worth much. But when you stay consistent, even when no one's looking, even when no one seems to care, you're teaching yourself something much more powerful. I can be counted on. That's not just about work ethic. That's about trust. And trust is what holds you together when everything else falls apart. Progress isn't a dramatic shift. It's the gentle erosion of weakness. It's the quiet strengthening of self-discipline. It's not always obvious, but if you're consistent long enough, you'll look back one day and realize that everything about you is different. You'll feel it in how you respond to stress, how you handle failure, how you carry yourself, not because something outside of you changed, but because you did, quietly, relentlessly, one step at a time. The mistake most people make is measuring their progress too early. They plant a seed, water it once, and wonder why there's no tree. But nature doesn't work that way, and neither does your growth. There are seasons of planting, seasons of watering, and seasons of waiting. That waiting part, the long stretch where nothing seems to be happening, that's the part that requires the most strength. Because you have to believe in what you can't see yet. You have to keep going without evidence. That's what separates the committed from the casual, the ones who keep showing up, even when their efforts seem invisible. You don't have to be loud to be powerful. You don't have to be seen to be making progress. In fact, the most meaningful progress you'll ever make will likely happen when no one's watching, because it's in those moments, those quiet mornings, those lonely evenings, those hours where nothing feels exciting, that you're learning how to keep a promise to yourself. And once you do that enough times, it becomes who you are. Not someone who needs results right away, not someone who needs praise to keep going, but someone who moves with quiet force, steady, unshaken, and deliberate. Every small action you repeat is either a deposit or a withdrawal. Every skipped task, every abandoned goal, every excuse. It pulls you further from who you say you want to be. But every completed task, every decision to follow through, every step forward, it adds to a balance that will one day compound into something unrecognizable. That's the real reward of consistency. It's not just external success, it's internal credibility. And when you believe in your ability to follow through, there is nothing and no one that can take that from you. We often think of change as a sudden event, a breakthrough, a moment of clarity that transforms everything. But most of the time, change isn't a moment, it's a process. One small shift at a time, one uncomfortable choice repeated until it becomes natural. And if you wait for the moment, you'll miss the process. You'll be too focused on the finish line to realize the race was won during training. Consistency doesn't just create results, it creates readiness. So when the opportunity finally comes, you're not scrambling to rise. You're already standing tall. You don't need to do extraordinary things to live an extraordinary life. You just need to do ordinary things, consistently, without excuse, without drama, without quitting. The most consistent people in the world rarely look impressive in the beginning, but they outlast the rest. They outgrow their limits, they outwork their doubts, not because they were better, but because they were steady, because they kept going. That's why consistency is the real currency of progress. It's not exciting, it won't trend, but it builds something that no one can take from you. Real change, the kind that lasts, the kind that turns effort into excellence, not by force, but by rhythm, not by bursts, but by steps, one after another, until you're no longer trying to be the person you admire, you are. Everyone feels unstoppable at the beginning. There's a kind of energy that surges through you when you commit to something new. It feels powerful, hopeful. You imagine what life could look like if you finally followed through. You see the end result so clearly, the transformation, the praise, the pride, and for a while that vision carries you. You move fast, you feel alive. The discomfort is still there, but it's hidden beneath the thrill of beginning. You're not worried about what it takes yet. You're just enjoying the momentum. But then something always shifts. The excitement begins to fade. The honeymoon is over, and suddenly the path you were sprinting down begins to feel heavier, longer, lonelier, and that's when most people vanish, not because they weren't capable, not because they weren't serious, but because they never trained for what comes after the spark. That moment, when the emotions die down and the real work begins, that's the dividing line. It doesn't show up loudly. It arrives in silence. You miss one day. You tell yourself you'll get back to it tomorrow. but tomorrow feels heavier than today. You scroll instead. You justify it. You wait for that initial motivation to come back, but it doesn't, because that kind of energy was never meant to last. It's not built for endurance. It's built for ignition, and once the fire is lit, your job is no longer to chase the spark. It's to keep the flame alive. That's the part no one wants to hear. The grind after the glory, the repetition after the rush. But that's where the real shift happens. The truth is, you don't become disciplined until you're bored, until you're tired, until you don't want to do it anymore and still do. That's when consistency becomes real, when it's no longer about riding a wave of emotion, but about honoring the commitment you made. Not to the goal, but to yourself. That's when you're building something solid, not a burst of momentum, but a foundation. Something that doesn't fall apart the moment you don't feel like showing up. Carl Jung once said, "Discipline is the bridge between the conscious and the unconscious." When you push through the days you feel empty, you're not just building a habit, you're creating a version of yourself that no longer depends on how you feel to move. You're making your values stronger than your moods, and that is how inner strength is formed, not in moments of inspiration, but in the silence of repetition. People think success is about talent or luck or timing, but more often than not, it's about endurance. It's about who can keep going when it's no longer fun, when the